Right.
Now, Joel.
Matthew Wigham on the Stay Hungry podcast.
How are you doing?
All right. Welcome to the show.
Good stuff.
So, what brings you here?
Spend a day with you, a day at your company, a game of pool, and Nando's.
Oh, you're a bit of a pool shark, I noticed.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That was
I like a
brutal.
game of pool, and just really here for some marketing advice and action,
Wicked.
which we've done today. Really, really happy about it. Just trying to really be the best I can be with Lofty Solution.
Nice. So what's Lofty Solution for the uninitiated?
Loft storage. So we do board lofts out for create storage space in people's houses, fit loft ladders, loft hatches, insulate lofts. Basically, any problem you've got with your loft, it's unutilized, wasted space in most people's houses, and we sort that out normally in a day. So yeah, we've never had a day without a booking for over 10 years. But as us entrepreneurs do, we're always trying to be better for our customers and make the business as good as it can be. So,
And how did this come about? How did you end up?
Lofts? I go through spells where I fancy a change. I've got a commercial window cleaning business, and my mate was moving to Australia, and at the time I bought and sold window cleaning businesses, and because my mate Mark knew about that, he was like, "I've got a little loft storage business, me and the wife do. Would you help us sell it?" And I was like, "Yeah, no bother, Mark. Let's have a pint. We'll sort it out. We'll sell it." So he told me the details of what he did, boarding lofts out and everything. And he said, it's got all these tools. It's got a website. It's got a Land Rover Discovery comes with it that I use to put the boards. And I was like, yeah, great. I was expecting him to say, oh, it'll be like 300 grand or something like that. I said, how much do you want for it, Mark? He said, I think about £5,000. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah. I was like, I said, are you sure you're not underselling yourself? No, I said, it's done me well, I'm happy. I said, would you consider selling it to me for £5,000? He was like, if you want it, yeah. I said, well, you show us how to go on. So he's like, Mark's a good mate, quality lad, him and his missus. So he's like, yeah, I'll show you how to go on. My brother-in-law, who works for me on the cleaning business, is a really good joiner. So I said, it depends if Johnny will come, because obviously I'm an accountant by trade, an accountant technician. So like I said, I've got no chance of doing this. Johnny was like, yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd love a change. So me and Johnny started off. And it came with, we called it the Land Crab. The Land Rover was an old Mark 1 Land with a bent chassis, because Mark used to take it off-roading in the woods and just rag it to death. And the thing, as you were driving to work, you were going along the road like this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it did us for the first 6 months anyway, and got the gate of the job. And then I spotted, being brand new to the business, everybody did a package for 400 quid. You could buy a ladder, a hatch, a light, and have 7 boards in your loft for 400 quid. And I was like, yeah, you're making 100 quid profit on it, but surely you can do more. And like, people were saying, why do I have to buy this package? Can I not have all my loft boarded out? I was like, yeah, you can. And it just wasn't the done thing. Everybody seemed to have decided there was this formula. You would do a ladder, a loft hatch, a light, and put 7 boards in a loft. I was like, why? Why can't you tell the person that you can make a home office in the loft, a hobby room, have as much storage as they wanted? So I think because I'd never done, I was brand new to the business, could just see opportunities with it. So we've just grown from strength to strength from there, and I've just looked at it not through a joiner's set of eyes. I've looked at it through the customer's set of eyes from day one, which I think's been kind of a magic ingredient, really. Not being a joiner by trade has actually helped me with building the business up.
So let's rewind a bit then, because you mentioned you're an accounting technician, and then prior to that, so what's your story? Where have you come from?
So I came from college. I got a job for Duncan Ballantyne.
Yeah.
He had a company called Quality Care Homes.
You
a
did,
big nursing group. Yeah, I worked as a payroll administrator.
People probably don't know he did care homes and ice cream vans to start with.
Big ice cream vans to start with. Then he got into the nursing homes, didn't he? And I worked for him. Learned a lot about accounts, and I started doing a thing called AAT, which is an accountant technician course. Yeah, you do it before you do ACCA.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed doing that. And then there was an advert came up, got sent round for a company called Enron.
Yep.
You heard of them as well? Yeah. It wasn't me that made them bankrupt.
Yeah, you're the scandal.
No. So I went for that, and I was doing the treasury for them, looking after about 80 million quid, and just putting it on different deposits. and making sure all the bills got paid, which I think was actually a good grounding in time and
cash flow.
Yeah, and I also I used to like to get in early on in the morning and get the work done, which I also think was a good habit. But then the rest is history, because obviously that company was the biggest ever bankruptcy in history. Huge American company. So at that time, a lot of redundancies, and I was sat playing five-a-side football, which we were just talking about before, and one of the lads who played five-a-side was wanting to sell a window cleaning business to go back to be a photocopier salesman.
Oh.
And I remember thinking, like, you've got your own business, you can go on holiday when you want, you can basically write your own wages. Why on earth would you want to go back to be a salesman? But he said, I just like doing it, so it's just fair enough. So I was like, how much do you want for your business? He said, I want $5,000 for it. So I bought the window cleaning business for £5,000 as well. That was how I started. And I knew that I'd heard the lads talking down five-a-side. You know, when you hear lads saying, oh yeah, I work by myself and make £30 an hour. And you're like, really? Because I only get 12 for being an accountant technician. Yeah. But you actually knew it was real because you knew the lads.
Yeah.
And I'd also worked a bit for my brother-in-law who was in the same business. I'd been kind of looking for the opportunity to get into it, and just took the plunge. I've always been like quite good with that, just taking the plunge with stuff.
With both feet. Yeah.
So bought the window cleaning round, and then just instantly saw the potential with that as well, and built that up to a good business. Moved out of London, set up a cleaning business down there, which was amazing.
What do you think's giving you this spark to want to be in business and set up businesses? Because it's unusual. Like, people listening to this have. Yeah. I have. But like we discussed before, my wife thinks I'm insane.
Yeah.
So
it is. I think it's just seeing how limited the opportunities are. Like, when I moved out of London, the two lads who were great friends that I moved down with were very much career orientated. Good job in the council, good job in Royal Mail. And they both did very, very well in their respective fields at it. But I also saw that they had to devote their life to it.
Yeah.
So I'll be down there cleaning some windows. 2:30 in the afternoon, I'm finished. I'm back home looking for something to do. And they're not getting back in the house till 10 o'clock at night because they've been to meetings. And they're they're in that rat race, aren't they? They're like that career rat race that people are in.
Yeah.
And I remember looking, thinking, yeah, you're doing well, and I respect that, but I don't want your life.
It's not for me.
I want to be a free spirit and a free soul. Like, I want to be able to do. If you ring me up for a game of golf tomorrow, I don't care whether I'm a millionaire, as long as I can say yes to you, as long as my bills are paid and I can say yes to you for a game of paddle or something. That's how I want to live my life, on my terms. And the only way I can see of doing that, really, I don't know if you know a better way, is to have your own business.
Yeah.
And with that, obviously, comes
different responsibilities,
different things, and different problems to solve.
Yeah. So, obviously, the window cleaning business in London was going well.
Yeah.
How many? This is your round at this time.
Yeah, just working by myself down there.
And how many properties on your round?
Oh, I had over 400 customers. I literally built them up. How this happened? My mate Jimmy, who's got a business in London now, real quality friend of mine. He always knew I was a good canvasser. So, just not being bothered knocking on a door.
Yeah.
So as we were stuck on the North Circular in traffic, Jimmy's always got an eye for a business. He says, Christopher, that's my nickname. Christopher, those windows are filthy. They're gopping over there.
Why is your nickname Christopher?
I don't know. I could not tell you. It came about from somewhere. Oh, wait a second. There was a reason. Was there a celebrity called Christopher Biggins?
There is a celebrity.
Yeah. It came from that. And then my nickname, obviously my surname being Wigham, I used to get Wiggins at football.
Okay.
So it went from Wiggins to Biggins, then to Christopher Biggins.
Internally here, because you're a client, we call you Wiggo.
Wiggo, yeah.
And then
at football I get Lofty. Lofty's stuck as well, yeah.
So then I went to our business mentorship that we're both in, and they call you Lofty.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the fuck's Lofty?
Yeah. A lot of people, I've got a few names but Christopher ended up sticking anyway. So he said, go and knock on them houses there. So I jumped out the car in the traffic jam. And by the time I'd knocked 20, I already had 2 customers signed up for triple the price what we would get in the northeast.
Yeah.
So at the time for a front, you'd charge £5 to clean them, and I was knocking on them saying 15, and they were saying, "Oh yeah," like as if it was cheap. So me and Jimmy just set up a round, just canvassed it from scratch, and we would just travel down once a month, go and blitz it for 3 days. Making back in 2002, this was making £500 to £1,000 a day in 2002, which up here was just not possible.
Yeah.
With the prices, so saw that there was just like proper opportunity to make big money, which there still is. Like London with trades, you can make an absolute fortune.
Yeah. Or like you look at companies like Pimlico Plumbers and stuff, and how they did it.
Yeah, amazing like results.
Multi millions. Yeah. So, but that's very different, right? Like with your mate doing a round of windows, 400 people, it rotates every couple of weeks or whatever it might be, to building out a business, having a team, buying and selling window cleaning businesses. So how did you go from loving the freedom and obviously having really good disposable income for your age as well, to having the discipline and the curiosity to actually turn it into I'm hesitant to say a proper business, because it is a proper business.
Yeah, the window cleaning was and still is a proper business. But I think it was being ready for a change. And I think what's made the difference is with the window cleaning and the gutter cleaning, I'm hands-on, and I always was hands-on.
Yeah.
But I think because I took on a joinery business and I'm not a joiner, it forced me to be hands-off.
So you had to kind of be a CEO.
I had no choice but to be a CEO from day one. Yeah. I think, although most people will be a plumber and start a plumbing business up, I think if you've just got a reasonable, I'm not clever, and I'm not particularly, I haven't got any particular gifts apart from I'd say I'm strong with people skills. That's probably my main gift.
You should be all right at numbers.
Yeah. And reasonable. I'd say I was never going to make an amazing accountant, but I've got a solid grasp of how a business's accounts work. I'm pretty good with mental arithmetic, especially like quick.
Good in a pub quiz.
Yeah, reasonable. Yeah, like good enough. 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 type of thing. But I think being forced to think, right, who can help me with this? Not how am I going to board this loft out? Who can board this loft out for me from day one? And having to just recruit joiners. And then I was like, hold on a second, and then I had 2 joiners on board.
Yeah.
All I need to do is go and know how to price the jobs, and I can pass them on to these people. And then just from then growing on, like Duncan Bannatyne, I remember saying in his book, he had 1 ice cream van, and he couldn't see why you wouldn't want 2. If you had 1 successful ice cream van, why wouldn't you have 2 successful ice cream vans? Same with the loft business. I've got 1 successful loft fitting team, why not have 2? Why not have 3? As long as you can fill them, and you can fill the diary and keep the customer and keep the standards.
Yeah.
And then I guess, like, I'm still working to this day, putting processes in place, and
as every business owner
managers,
is, right?
A strong management team. So that you were saying, how does it become successful? Having a good management team is absolutely the key. So I've got a real 3-person strong management team with myself in charge of that. And those, my sales manager, my office manager, and my installations manager, who are all either family or very, very close, like lifelong friends that I can trust. And being able to trust and delegate things is the key to it growing and being successful. And getting good people on board, like yourself, like a good marketing team.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just try and do everything themselves and burn out, whereas I think I'm good at delegating as well.
Yeah, and knowing what to delegate, I guess.
And spotting talent, like knowing good people. So being able to suss out who's going to add value to my business.
How'd you do that?
I think a bit of gut instinct and a bit of looking at what they've done. Like I look, like really, like I think about people, like, like a person who tells me a lie or tells me about a lie they've told somebody else while we're down the pub or after a game of football. I never forget that.
Yeah.
I kind of, without trying, make a mental note of it, and I think I would rather take somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, but is willing and keen, but who is loyalty and trustworthiness.
Yeah.
And doing what you say you're going to do, which is obviously one of our main.
Yeah. I find
I'd rather get them and train them than have a person who's minted the job, really clever and devious. He'll stab you in the back.
Yeah, I think we meet a lot of people in our game who are either really bigging themselves up and a little bit devious.
Yeah.
Or quite self-deprecating, but secretly quite successful.
Yes.
And
I see that.
I always warm to the self-deprecating type, the ones that are a bit more humble.
Yeah.
And it's not that there's anything wrong with being proud of what you've done or anything, but when someone's really keen to tell you they've had a record month, that always worries me a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So you've got this loft, incredible loft boarding business going. You've also still got gutter cleaning and window cleaning businesses going. How are you managing all of that?
Well, just to say, by having people you can trust to run it. Yeah. I don't breathe down people's neck at all. I say people, this is what job needs doing. Johnny, can you manage these 3 loft fitting teams? Simon, can you look after these 30 customers this week? Sharon, can you invoice and send a thank you letter to all these people, and then just let them get on with it? It's pointless giving them the job and then breathing down the neck and basically doing the job again yourself.
Because then there's 2 people doing the job. Yeah.
I just keep an eye on, I keep a close check on a couple of things, which I guess some people wouldn't. Probably with being an accountancy background, I keep a check on the bank account. Mm-hmm. So I like to be, one of the one jobs I won't give up is paying the wages out. I like to control the money and control who gets it.
I'm the same. Yeah. It's interesting that.
Yeah. I think for me, I don't get it because one of my real sort of, not like heroes, sort of like people I look up to is James Sinclair.
Yeah.
And he always says, give that away straight away. He'll say, like, get an accountant or a bookkeeper to do it. But what happens if I get a bent accountant? What happens if somebody's fiddling me? The only way I know that for me is to look at my bank account every day and know where my money's going.
Yeah.
If I stop that, to me, I've lost control of my business if I'm not, in the old-fashioned term, signing the checks.
Yeah.
And these days,
I totally appreciate
fast transfer, yeah.
Yeah, bills need paying and we can't always be the people to pay them and stuff, but you do need to have some oversight.
Yeah, I get this. Me and Jimmy always have a bit of banter and crack about this because he has this rubbish system where he has to ring his accountant for a code and the payroll takes him like 3 hours to do, and I'm like, I'm paying 20 people's wages and it takes me 10 minutes.
Yeah, just on your phone.
Yeah, literally ping, 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 it's gone, it's done. And like, I've just got a tick list at the back of my journal with everybody who needs paid. I send Johnny a message, say, anyone been off this week? Yeah, Tom's been off 1 day. So he's only getting paid for 5 days, and bang, the wages are done. But I know exactly what's happening, and that gives me a sense of, it just gives me an overview of what's happening with the business. Yeah. I keep that job. I can't even remember what question I'm answering you. By the way,
How do you balance it all?
Yeah, I work on a morning early. So what I need to do, I get done. I have a little morning routine. I just get on and do what I need to do.
What does that look like?
Responding to customers' questions, checking out. I like to go out and do some quotes still because that's a part of the job I enjoy. So I still like closing deals with people.
Yeah.
More, I would say, rather than closing deals, it's making friends and connections.
Yeah.
And giving people the right advice, and then the deal closes itself.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy that feeling, and I enjoy a bit of crack with the fitters, and I enjoy like taking a personal interest. I think anyone who's worked for me will know that they're not just a number in the company. I actually care about them personally, so I'll spend a bit of time each week showing some appreciation with people, doing something practical for people.
Yeah, goes a long way.
Yeah, and I think that breeds a bit of loyalty. My fitters and my team have been with me for years, most of them, and I hope they'll be with me for years to come. So that saves you having to constantly recruit new staff, which is another...
So something you mentioned there about sales, and that it's about building relationships.
Yeah.
Where did you learn that? Because that's unusual.
I think it's a few things. I think not being afraid of rejection comes from being brought up as a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
So, going out knocking on doors to people, talking about religion, you get a lot of rejection.
Yeah, I bet.
So I was used to having doors slammed on my face, buckets of water chucked out the window, and people just generally don't want you there a lot of the time. But when you're out consistently every Saturday and Sunday knocking on hundreds of doors, rejection just means nothing to you.
And how?
So if somebody says to me, "No, I don't want that," I don't take it to heart. It doesn't spoil my mood or anything. So
when you first had to do that, as a kid, and was this because your parents?
Yeah, my parents are Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah.
How did they teach you to deal with rejection?
Just that it wasn't you that was getting rejected, it was the message. So if the person wasn't interested in the Bible, that was their choice, that's their free will completely. and it's up to them if they say yes. But you might meet somebody who was interested, which would be great. And I never resented it. I actually used to enjoy going and knocking on doors, just like with nice people, out with a nice group of people.
Yeah.
Some days you'd meet some really interesting people, and you got used to talking to older people, and I can get on well with old age pensioners. I can get on well with children, but I think I've just been exposed.
Good with dogs.
Dogs, yeah. You get dogs coming to the door, and you've just got to be used to being exposed to everything and not being worried, and just being obviously a bit of training as well about being really friendly to people.
Yeah.
Like, really try to help people, show a personal interest in people, and all that stuff. And like being brought up as a Jehovah's Witness was great, because if you look at what we get taught with Paul Morton Alliance, like do what you say you're going to do for people.
Yeah.
I got taught from being a kid, make a yes mean yes and you know mean no. It's the same lesson.
Values, yeah.
Yeah, same things. That a lot of what's in the Bible is just rock solid, good values. Like, and I think that helps with treating people, to doing to your neighbour as you do to yourself. So when I do a quote for a loft, I treat the person like, if it's an older person, I treat them the way I'd want somebody to treat my mother. If it's a woman the same age, the way I'd want my sister to be treated. If it's somebody like you, the way I'd want my brother to be treated.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just have that approach to every customer. I don't do what's best for me, I do what's best for them. So I give them the advice, this is going to be what works best for your property. It's what I would do in my mum and dad's house.
Yeah. And then let them make the decision.
And let them, yeah. And I never try and close a deal ever. I just give them the best advice, give them a fair price, and just and then I'm there for anything they need.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And ironically, you then end up closing deals, but you don't have to make any effort or make anyone awkward or get stressed if it doesn't close. It might not be the right thing for them.
And something you've mentioned to me before is people might not go with you to start with because you've not been the pushiest.
Yeah.
But they end up coming back anyway.
Yeah, that happens quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, this is something we learnt off Paul as well. That follow-up I did before Christmas was mental. I got some great results off that. You think because people haven't shook your hand and bought off you on the day that it's dead. But sometimes it's just not the right time. The boiler might break, the car might break down. And the people you've done quotes for, even a year or two afterwards, just drop them a message, say, are you still interested in loft storage space?
At the moment,
are you still interested in window clean? Are you still interested in your boiler service? And whatever it is, just ask them the question, are you still interested in this? Any questions, any help you need, give me a shout. Simple question like that. Nobody can take offence to that.
Yeah, yeah.
But following up, I think. And just before Christmas, I think I closed over about 20 deals just off old people who had already done.
And what's that like worth to your business?
Well, it can vary. It could just be a loft hatch and ladder for 400 quid. It could be a garage. One of them was a garage conversion for 22 grand. So it could be like.
So those 20 conversations roughly.
Well, I'd have to check. Brownie'd have to keep me right. I think December's sales figures might have been about 200 grand, and a big chunk of that'll have been
from that.
We'd done some good.
And how many text messages did you have to send?
A few. I think I sent over 500 in December.
But so let's say it was 100 grand you did off that.
Yeah.
People listening to this, if I said you've got to send 500 text messages, but the result is you'll have 100 grand in your bank.
Yeah.
Most people are going to say yes to that.
Yeah, but
you can send 500 text messages in 5 days.
Exactly. I can't take any credit for it. It was 100% Paul Mort's advice.
And a little bit of mine. Yeah. Just saying.
It was just off that training he did. Just said, people who've already held the hand up or you've done work for before, why aren't you contacting them? Yeah. Why are you still spending money on contacting people who don't know you?
Yeah, yeah.
So
and obviously,
I'm still doing it.
Well, we're in spring cleaning season right now, aren't we? So people are putting stuff away, changing the decor in the house, changing their ornaments around and all that, and it's like time to go again. That's the beauty of a loft business. Same with window cleaning, really. It's like you're getting into the period now where people want their windows cleaned regularly because otherwise they look sun-smeared.
That's it. The first time the sun starts coming through at an angle in March,
everyone realises how dirty their windows are.
The only trouble is if you are window clean, it also shows up the streaks you've left as well. Yeah. So if you're going to get a complaint, it'll be in March as well.
So, and then on like the window cleaning business, because that's such a transactional business. It's like, I need my windows cleaned. I need them cleaned every other Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave you the key to the back gate and trust you to just sort it. How does knocking on someone's door to getting them to trust you with the back key to their gate, go.
I just people have always done it. People have always trusted me. I think because they can.
Yeah.
Because if you left me with £1 million and your kid and your dog, and you said I need to go away for 2 days, I wouldn't ask you to do that. But if you did,
the dog would be well fed.
Yeah. everything would be there when you returned. Just because that's my being honest, your core value. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think people can.
But in trades of all kinds, loft boarding, window cleaning, plumbing, electricians, it's a stereotype to be very unreliable.
Yeah.
I've lived in my house for 3.5 years. I've had 6 window cleaners.
Yeah.
Because they just stopped coming.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I think
this must be the easiest industry.
It is. It's a great industry, and if I wasn't so tied up in the lot, in how hard I've had to work over the last 13, 14 years with the lofts, I'm sure would have built my window cleaning business to a massive scale. It's a good business just as it is, but I haven't been able to devote the time to both. It's difficult.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing business, and the ones that take it professionally, that just turn up. But I think because it's a Me Too business, because all you really need's a ladder and a squeegee and a bucket to start off with, people do it, and then when what happens quite often is somebody will get laid off the company, and they'll sit around for 3 weeks and think, I'm not doing this, I'll start up a window cleaning round. They started up, and 6 months later they get the job opportunity they really want, and they just walk away from it, Which actually, if you're in the business in the long haul, you'll find that over 10, 15 years, you'll pick up all them
jobs
by just being the most consistent person.
Yeah, and I think it's understanding your craft, isn't it? And there is a skill to it, because you have to be able to get it done in a certain amount of time to make it viable.
Yeah.
And to make it the right price for the customer. And also, it's come rain or shine, isn't it? You're out in all weathers, and if the weather's too bad, you can't do your job and all this kind of stuff. And actually, that's an amazing grounding for anyone going into any business.
Yeah.
Because you're having to learn to accommodate the situation, learn to be flexible, learn that things aren't always going to go your way.
Yeah.
And I guess that probably explains why a lot of window cleaners are unreliable, because they figure out all the basic skills they need for any other business.
Yeah. And then move on to something else quite often. Yeah.
Well, it's
but the ones who stay,
thing.
If you want to, I might one day go back to it and really take it seriously. I'm not sure, but it's such a good business, an underrated business, especially since the water-fed poles came along. Because you used to once over, there was the hardship of having to climb up and down the ladder and the risk of it. Now with a good water-fed pole system, anybody, I'm not saying this in a sexist way, but it's opened the industry up to women for me. I think women some women do really well at it, because you can get a Gardner 18-foot carbon fibre pole, and your 10-year-old kid can use it.
And to be realistic, a woman living on her own is going to prefer a woman coming around to clean her windows than a bloke.
I mean, couples, a husband and wife team is a very successful combination. I think a couple of young lasses, you tend to find people. If more young lasses knew what it could do for them, you would have a lot more women window cleaners, I think, because it's just such a good flex.
Well, you were doing £1,000 a day 20 years ago.
Back in 2002. Depends where you are in the country, but you can easily, people who don't believe it are mad. You can make £500 a day on your own. If you price your work right, you get your round organised. There'll be people out here who will happily testify, and lads that I know that make over £500 a day just on their own. And that's in the northeast.
And if you're knocking off your costs of that, what's left in the pot?
If the thing is, if it's you doing the work,
just fuel and water,
and your vehicle, you might use as your day-to-day. You might have a little Berlingo van which you use as you'd run about anyway to go to football in. It's basically your equipment, and your water purification gear. But I'd say your profit margin in window cleaning, there can't be much out there to touch it. Yeah. If you had a ladder and you did it the old-fashioned way, and you already had a car anyway, it's maybe you tenner a month for your QuickBooks if you're really organised. Yeah. You could just have a book with your customers' details in.
Well,
your public liability insurance, everyone should have, so that you can get that as a one-man band for £60 a year, and you're away. A website you can make. You could go and make your own.
Make your own website.
Yeah, but you could. and just your free listings on stuff, and you're aware. And people, I always find it so funny when people come to me like, how do you go about setting up your own business? It's as if it's something mysterious and there's something difficult about it. You just literally start. Go out, wash a house's windows and say it'll be 10 quid or 20 quid and send me it to this account. You can even, there's nothing wrong with using your personal bank account. You've obviously got to register as self-employed,
and just
which is a 5-minute job online. You can do it all online. Register and then just keep a record. Well, your bank account's keeping a record of who's paid you. So, and then just, if you want to, you can do your own accounts for the first few years, no bother. If you get a bit bigger, pay a chartered accountant 200 quid a year. That's another cost, but probably well worth it to check your claim and the allowances you're allowed to claim, and you're aware. And like, there's no barrier to entry, which is bad in a way because you constantly get people starting up doing it. But a lot of businesses, there's no barrier to entry.
Well, not marketing, for certain. You know,
you're as good as your reputation, really.
Marketing. Yeah, 100%. And well, you've seen the same in the loft boarding game. The amount of people that have gone, I can ship this in from China and install it myself.
I know. That's probably the worst thing about the loft boarding game, is that's a little bit of a Me Too business as well.
Yeah.
So you'll just get people doing it and saying, well, I don't need to do all them other things. I'll just wire the light in myself. I'll just board onto the joists.
So what does that mean, wire the light in yourself?
You should have an electrician to extend a circuit in the loft. So you really need to use an electrician to do it, but a lot of people will just do their own and stuff. And then you'll get people putting the framework in the way they think, but using the plastic loft legs, and then people, you don't know if people are just going to pop a suitcase or they're going to go and start doing yoga up there. So there's a lot of things you can do wrong. People say it's only loft boarding, but there's a hell of a lot of things you can do wrong with it. So I think that's what gives it a bit of a bad rep, is because there's not much barrier to entry and people think they know what they're doing, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen on Amazon people buying their own kits with plastic stilts. But then it's actually only rated up to 100 kilos.
Some of them are 25 kilos.
Right.
Yeah, and there's not many 25 kilo people. Or suitcases, really. Not if you see my wife's suitcase.
I knew that was coming.
Pulls your arm out of its socket trying to lift
Can
it
you carry mine? Oh, yeah. Shock.
There is that about it, but I guess unless you've got a real, regulated industry, it's difficult.
So what's a typical thing? If someone has a light installed and extends a circuit in their loft, and then they go to sell their house and they haven't had that signed off, they'd have to...
So what you get is the solicitor just asks them for a Part P certificate for it, and then they haven't got it.
So then you have to buy a little insurance policy.
You have to buy an indemnity policy. What it tends to do is cause panic at the last minute. So, people are trying to get the deal done, and all of a sudden it stalls because the solicitor hasn't got the electrical certificate. Well, in our case, it's not an issue because we just go back and reissue it for them.
Yeah.
Because we've got a copy of the certificate on file. But if people don't, we quite often get people on the phone in a panic saying, we had our loft done by such and such, but we haven't got and now they're not answering the phone. Can you get us one? So I'll charge them, obviously, but we can do it. But
getting a doctor's note.
It's one of them things. It should just be done from the start. So, but there's a lot of cowboy techniques going on in the industry because people don't. It's one of them things a bit like gutter cleaning, whereas when we do our gutter cleans, we always provide digital photographs and evidence of the cleaning. But once people's loft's been boarded out, nobody knows what's under that floor. And whether the framework's been done properly or whether it's sagging or trusses have been cut.
So you actually provide the photos of what's
we
there
do. We provide photographs of how the cleaning's been done. We can provide photographs of the framework. Quite often we'll frame it out, show the customer, take a photograph of it also to cover our backs as well, that it's all insulated properly.
And then if they ever need a surveyor or anything, they can show them the photo.
And also screw everything down. So if anything ever needs to be removed to access anything, it's a 5-minute job and it can all be put back without damaging things. A lot of companies, it's so much quicker to use a nail gun. So you just go in, bang, 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 bang. It's down in half the time it takes us. But if ever they need to access a lighting circuit or there's a problem or there's a leak, you're screwed. You can't get the nails back out without damaging the ceilings. So
what's the worst things you've seen in people's lofts?
Oh, some mental things. I'd say the worst one we come across every week is engineered roof trusses being chopped through. So that's a weekly occurrence that most of our competitors just chop straight. They calculate it to support the weight of the roof and the weight of the plasterboard underneath them. But for convenience, companies just chop through them. Once you've chopped through them, the way the load spreads, it passes on to the other trusses. So we'll see ceilings sagging. We'll see customers whose roof's sagging.
Yeah.
And not the companies that do it, you never hear from them again. Like
and to repair that is a much bigger job.
It's a bigger undertaking. Yeah, it's obviously a nightmare for the customer because they've already paid once to have the job done, and they shouldn't have to pay again.
Yeah, so they've potentially paid £1,000, had a bad job done. But you've come in similar sort of price, but then it's like, but the bad news is you've got to
repair
damage.
This as well. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of that goes on. Unsafe loft ladders. People like boarding straight onto the ceiling joists, so when you're stepping on them, the ceilings are cracking underneath.
Yeah, so it's bowing.
The other one that's really bad is just people taking the insulation out and boarding onto the joist, so the house is freezing cold. So it's kind of
Where
good.
are they putting the insulation?
They'll stuff it down the eaves around the corners, and which then blocks the airflow and the ventilation out. So then the customers got bad condensation and the house is freezing cold. And it's good for us in a way because we know how to put it right. We take the floor up, put the correct level of insulation in, put the correct joists in, refit a proper tongue and groove flooring system, and make sure that the eaves are clear. Yeah. And then if need be, we can put ventilation along the rafters and along the ridge as well to make sure they don't get condensation.
So is that like
So that's kind of a lot of our work is
putting stuff right.
Yeah.
And is that like a consideration if you're putting your suitcase in the loft? Don't stuff it down the eave, sort of thing.
Well, you shouldn't have it touching the membrane.
Okay.
So you should always have it. Whatever you're storing in the loft, whatever membrane you've got, whether it be an old felt membrane or like a new membrane, the membrane works by being able to sit off the tiles.
Yeah.
And if you push it up against the tiles, you will get moisture coming through and rain coming through. Or you could also be blocking off ventilation by stuff and things. So I'd say always have things off, not touching the membrane.
Yeah.
It's good policy.
Right. I think we've covered a lot there.
Yeah.
But something we haven't covered that I know you've got quite a bit of knowledge on and I think is useful for business owners. You are a successful bloke. You've got your own investments now.
Yeah.
And you talked me through earlier how you pay for your family fun, holidays and time away, and that the family fun goes in the diary first before anything else.
Yeah.
And the concept of slow money and fast money. And
I wished I'd learned this years ago, but unfortunately I only learned it in 2020. But it was partly off Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that system, but really the credit goes to James Sinclair's Entrepreneur's Masterclass, which I went down to Essex for.
Yeah.
He just explained that stop buying flash cars, stop going on expensive holidays until you've got an investment company that's paying for them. So his concept is, which is now my concept as well, is to get 50% of your money, at least if you can do 50, but if you can only do 20, do 20, because not everyone can afford to give away 50%. Fast money is your income off your job if you're employed, or your net profit of your company.
Yeah, so your job would be lofty and.
But say if you had a good job as a salesperson or a job like that, if you could put 20% of that into investments, so investments could be properties that you rent out, it could be gold, it could be silver, it could be cryptocurrencies, it could be like bonds, government bonds, anything, or stocks and shares. Put your money that you earn quickly into that, and as that matures and pays you dividends or rent, the money that comes off that pays for your fun and for your cars. So any material things you buy, like treats, luxuries, your vehicle that you run, not your business vehicle, your van obviously you put through your business and company, but your personal vehicles paid for out of that, and your holidays and luxuries come out of that slow money. So if the first time you do it, you think, well, I've only been able to put this away and all it's made me this year is £100, that means that you get a weekend camping in the Lake District. Yeah. But it's essentially come there for free.
Yeah. And you've retained the original.
And you've retained all your original money's locked away. And James used to describe them, a great little description, as slaves. Remember back in the bad old days of the slave trade, when you put your slaves to work for you? He calls pound coins slaves. So all your pound coins that go from your fast money to your slow money and now you're slaves. And once you put them to work in captivity for you making your money, you never let them escape. They stay in there all their life. So all you ever keep doing is adding to your investment pot, and then the rents and the dividends you collect off that is what pays for your life.
Yeah.
And you keep that loop going, using your income to go into your assets, and the income that comes off your assets funds your life. And whereas most people earn their income and pay for their life, it's just a straight through transaction like that. Yeah. It's putting that extra block into the transaction, and you're straight back to zero, exchanging time for money, which is what majority of most countries, people just swap the time for money. Whereas even if you're swapping time for your money, and that covers all of your bills, to me, the thing to do is get a little side hustle that makes you some, and use your side hustle as your slow money, and invest that part of your money. Because there could be people say, well, I make £2,000 a month and I need every penny of that to live. And some people would say that and go to my sister's charity in Shildon. My sister's got like teachers and nurses that have to go there to get food from the food bank. And I believe it's not bollocks, it's true. So if you've got that situation, then I think you've got no choice at that time but to create a little side hustle, a way to make yourself some income. You've got to use your imagination about that as well. It could be where you had a window cleaning round on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Do the customers in your street, do some car washing. As long as you're making £50, £100 a week and you're investing that, it's mad. Within a few years, all of a sudden, then you might have 10 grand in that account, or a grand. You might be able to buy yourself a little business. I bought businesses for £5,000. I've been given businesses by asking them for free. You can do that if you've got a little bit of money. Whereas if you always got zero in your bank, you can't do anything. You've got no flexibility. So that little loop, that system of fast money into slow money, and your slow money paying for your life, that's a game changer for anyone.
And there is real simple ways to do it as well. Like my wife, quite recently had an operation, so 4 months at home. Never had that in her life before. And so she found charity shops online.
Yeah.
And just went on eBay to see what some of this stuff was selling for on eBay. Saw the stuff that was a good opportunity, and we were getting and she was looking on Vinted and other places too, all this stuff showing up at the house in parcels, and she was flipping it and making like 10x.
Genius. Yeah.
Because she'd be like, oh, that's a Gucci belt for sale at that charity shop for £10. I'll bang it on.
And what she's done there, she's just used her financial intelligence. She knows that's worth more. Yeah. She knows she can get it for that.
Yeah.
It won't take, if anyone puts their mind to it, it won't take them long to find a little niche. There'll be a little window, or there'll be something that they can buy and add value to it, or make it better than it is, to create that little window of profit to sell it. And I think that what you said, your missus doing the Vinted eBay is a great thing. There's small businesses you could set up to do that. There's a lot of different ways. I know a few, but because I know a few, I've then not looked for others. But there's so many ways to skin a cat. You just have to have a bit of initiative.
What would you say are like the key ways you've added value in the businesses that you've got involved in? So, give us another question. Like, put that another way, because I'm trying to think. There's a few ways I can think of. So you've just taken on a £5,000 loft boarding business.
Yeah.
And it's obviously doing all right.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have given him £5,000 for it. But what did you do to take it from being a £5,000 loft boarding business to what is a 7-figure business now?
Yeah. Looked at what else I could sell. So not selling the package. I thought straight within a couple of months, I thought, we're not doing these packages anymore. And then I just tried. I was like, I want this customer's over the moon here. I'm looking at how much value. This is worth more than £400. So I just said to the first customer, yeah, we've got this package, we'll do it for you, but it's £650. Fantastic. And I thought to myself straight away, Mark there was leaving 250 quid on the dining table over and over again, and so were all the other loft companies. So I think this would be fair to say. Some of the other loft companies might disagree with me, but it's been a great thing for the North East loft boarding business, me coming on board, because everybody now makes more money than they did when I started, without a shadow. Yeah. I remember there was one guy who'd made £2,000 a week, and he thought it was like unbelievable that he made £2,000 in a week. And I was like, within a year, we were making £5,000 a week on it. And I was like, and now I think because people learn, all my competitors are all better off financially, all have things that they wouldn't have had if I hadn't just challenged the norm. The status quo and the norm was you charge 400 quid. Why? Who decided that?
How did you know to challenge that?
Just because I always have done. So, for instance, when I started window cleaning, the lad I bought the round off says, "Oh, every house you charge 3 quid for." And I was like, "Why do you charge 3 quid for it? That's ridiculously cheap." I remember just a new customer came and says, "Oh, can you do mine as well?" I was like, "Yeah, it'll be £10." "Yeah, great, thank you, mate." And instantly I'd gone up from 3 quid to 10 quid. And then over time I just put my prices up each year £1 until I think 10 quid's a great. What it was a great deal back then for a 3-bedroom detached house.
Yeah.
So you don't have to charge what other people charge to be good value for money.
So I'll run you through a story. So we pre-COVID we designed a local school's website.
Yeah.
We did a price that we were happy with. Didn't think anything of it. Didn't know what other people quoted. We've looked after that website for 7 years. Think they've had a good service.
Yeah.
They came back to me in January and said, "Oh, we like it refreshing. 7 years is a long lifespan on a website." Yeah, of course, love to. Yeah, just let us know what costs are involved. I said, "Well, you've been loyal to us. I appreciate you've been with us from when we were a tiny business to what we are now. So, I'm not going to have your pants down." Also, he's a headmaster, so he's quite scary. And just gave him 3 prices. It's like, I'll let you know bells and whistles. I'll let you know budget, and I'll let you know in the middle. Great. Messages me back. "I'm going to have to think about it." I was like, "Oh, bollocks." Jump on a call with him yesterday. He's like, "I'm actually really interested in your bells and whistles package."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He says, "We had to go out for quotes after we received your proposal because part of our education trust, we need to get 3 quotes." I was like, "Well, you didn't say that to start with." He was like, "Well, I hadn't seen your prices then." I was like, "Because you don't have to get 3 quotes." Anyway, he's like, "We're coming back to you, and I'd like your premium package." And I was like, that's an odd conclusion from. We were a third of the price of the next nearest quote.
Mental. Aye.
Oh, I don't know whether I feel sick or not.
Are you happy with what you were getting?
I've realised that perhaps not.
No.
I was happy when I quoted it.
Yeah.
I think the reality of business is that when a shock like that happens to you, take a step back and go, well, they can't just be ripping people off, because 2 separate businesses have quoted 3 times more than us.
Yeah.
And that I then started thinking about all the things that are involved that are away from actually being on the tools.
Yeah.
Like the admin, the telephone calls, the meetings, the dealing with the hosting companies, all the technical stuff.
That you're essentially doing for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're probably not ever going to be as expensive as those 2 companies.
Yeah.
But it was a harsh lesson to learn yesterday. I sat there and was like,
I have a kind of, I don't know if it'd be any help to you, but I have a roughish guideline that if over 50% of people that I'm quoting for are booking in and going for it, if it's much over 50%, I've got the opportunity to raise the prices a little bit. If it ever drops to 50% or below, I'm probably where I should be. It's a rough tool, but I think if every customer's saying yes straight away and not even thinking about it, you probably need to look at your pricing.
Yeah, and I'd say not on our marketing packages, but on our websites, we've probably not had a no for 2 years.
Yes, yeah, there could be a clue in there. Like,
so okay, so I've got 2 questions I ask every guest on this podcast. The first question's for me, and the second question's for the listeners.
Yeah.
What's your favourite film and why?
American History X.
Oh, it's a good film.
I just love how it challenges. It got banned for being a violent racist film, but if you actually think about the film, it's the exact opposite of a racist film.
Yeah.
And I just loved the way that it went from like a extreme far right neo-Nazi racist to being best friends with a black man in prison who actually saved his bacon.
Yeah.
Then to coming out, but seeing to try and resurrect that wrong thinking.
Yeah.
But it already had its consequences. I just thought it was it had a much deeper meaning than the surface of the film.
Yeah.
And I've always been very anti-racist. So like, I like the fact that anyone who's got preconceived ideas can challenge them.
Yeah.
And actually realize that they're wrong. That human beings are human beings, and you get good human beings, and you get idiots. And the majority of human beings, I believe, are good and will help you. And like the fact that we do our work and all of our customers pay us, it to me is evidence that people are mostly good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't apply to. So for me, for instance, in the trades, a lot of my competitors won't deal with like Indian and Pakistani Asian customers and they're quite open about it. Whereas for me, I just treat everybody on merit. So I'm quite happy to take on African customers, Indian customers. I'm just straight as a die, honest and friendly. And I won't put up with any rubbish off any customer.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter, yeah. And I'm like, you cannot ring Mrs. back, but I'll ring her and I'll happily work for her. So I'm just very open. And I think that's American History X. I go back to that. I just think it's a great movie. I think Ed Norton plays an amazing part in it. I'd recommend it, but there was a scene it got banned for, but that's not what the movie's about. It's a bit just a violent scene. I don't really like gratuitous violence. I don't really watch violent movies. But how about you?
There is a purpose to that scene.
Yeah.
So how about me?
Yeah.
My favourite film's called A Place Beyond the Pines.
Oh.
It's Bradley Cooper and Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. I like them both.
And it's a film in two parts. So the first half of the film is about two dads and the life they live and how it intertwines. And one's got a slight criminal element to him and the other's a police officer. So you can imagine how they start to cross over. And then the film sort of stops and it starts again. And it's about the impact their lives had on their sons' lives. Yeah. And then you follow their two sons and how their lives cross over and the sins of the father will visit the son type thing. Yeah. Now, I've had a colourful life with my dad, so you can see why I'm bought into that story. It's a beautifully shot film. You could watch it on mute and just look at it.
I'm definitely going to watch that film.
Or you can just listen to the music. And there's a great supporting cast, like Ben Mendelsohn's in it and Eva Mendes, and like it's really, really good actors. And like I really like it. It's a bit slow. I think like modern audiences like fast paced, but I'm not bothered. I'm a bit of a thinker, so that's mine. And then
I like a thought provoking film.
If we went like mainstream, probably Rocky. So I did the Rocky steps.
Classic entertainment.
Yeah, I love the underdog story. Most people don't realise that Rocky loses at the end of Rocky, doesn't win. That it's a love story. It's not really about boxing. And like I remember when I met my wife, I said we've got to watch Rocky, and she couldn't believe it when she was crying at the end.
Yeah.
She's like, I thought it was a fighting film. I was like, some of the later ones.
I've got loads of films that I need to watch.
You're not going to tell me you haven't seen Rocky?
I've only seen, I think, a couple of halves of them. You know, all that window between the 80s and 90s, our family was so strict about what TV you could watch. So I wasn't allowed to watch stuff, which I'm sure some of it was good that I didn't watch. There's certain films like me Mrs. Leanne, she's like, what? You haven't seen Back to the Future 2? And I'm like, no, because we walked out the pictures halfway through.
It went against my parents' beliefs.
So there's stuff like that. But I will watch the Rock. You've given me loads of films to watch.
The original Rocky and Place Beyond the Pines are brilliant. Yeah. Okay, last question. What's the best mistake you've ever made?
That's honestly couldn't tell you. I'm sure I've got plenty of mistakes. I'm just trying to think about which one's a good one. Sorry, mate. I'm coming up with a blank on that. I've made a few mistakes. I'm just trying to think of which one's good.
Well, what's the best lesson you've ever learned? Is that better?
I've got a time that sticks in my mind. When I wasn't very organised with my business and I wasn't putting any effort into my business, and it was a real cold winter, 2010, where we had the big freeze. It was -10 for days, and I had a gas meter. Lived in a house in Quarternary. I had a gas meter, and I had 3 or 4 customers that owed me about 10 quid each, and I had to go around in 3 foot of snow to try and collect the £10 off them to put some, and I got one £10 in at the last minute. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to heat the house for the night. And I remember walking around in that 3 foot of snow And that was a lesson. I thought, I'm not going to be half-arsed and half-bothered with this business again.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop just working and I'm going to build a business. And I remember just like vowing to myself in there, Matthew, you and your children will never be in this position again where the kids are sat in the house freezing cold and you're having to walk around in 3 foot of snow for a tenner. And you know, when sometimes you just have to have something so painful and so horrible happening to you to spark something. And from that day, I worked so much harder, and I never let myself get back into that position where I was not prioritizing making money for my family.
Yeah, that's mega.
Yeah, it's kind of not a mistake, but it was a mistake that I hadn't.
You needed to make that mistake.
Yeah. And to feel that pain.
Yeah, that I think...
I'll never forget that pain.
Oh, I can see it in your eyes. I know that doesn't come across on a podcast, but I've said to a lot of people, unless you've hit a real low, you don't know what a high feels like. You've got to get there. Like you don't know what things are worth to you until you nearly lose them. And
there was the other thing with that is, as I got that £10 and went to the shop to pay my gas meter thing, I thought about using 5 of it for the gas meter and buying a bottle of wine with the other 5.
Yeah.
And that was a real jolt to me about where my priorities lied. As it happened, I did the right thing and paid for the gas.
Bought 10 quid scratch card.
yeah. But yeah, that was a low day, that one.
Yeah. So if someone wants to know more about Lofty Solution, what do they need to do? Just
go onto our website. You might. I've got to do a podcast with Paul Mort recently. Watch this podcast. Our website's really, we just deal with Northeast businesses. If you're a loft business from another part of the country that would like to like sort of, if you've got a catchment area, say in Manchester, London, I'd happily talk to you and compare notes. So I think that's a useful exercise, but I've just not found a partner to do it with yet. Like, you know, if you've got another marketing agency that you're not in direct competition with each other, just spending an afternoon having a coffee and comparing notes.
Yeah.
I might be able to help you with materials prices, about different types of loft hatches you can fit. You might have something that I've missed a trick with. So it's an open invite. Contact me on the website. If you've got a loft business and you'd like to have a chat and hopefully help each other out, I think that's a good exercise for business owners to do. Or if you're in the northeast of England, from Richmond to Whitley Bay, Tynemouth, across to Barnard Castle, Hexham, we cover all that area, and we'll do you the best possible job of your loft with a lifetime warranty. So as long as you own your house, everything's covered, and we stand by our warranty every time.
Epic.
So yeah, that just hit the web. I think our website's pretty easy to use, so you can get my number off that. Yeah, it should be.
Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Cheers, Joe.